Dear Diary, there are times I have wondered about the makeup of the human mind. I used to believe that some of the commercials on TV were almost fruitless until I had a discussion with a friend. So one day, I had a discussion with a friend who actually tried to convince me that the various commercials and programs on TV, actually, especially the ones that are religious, actually pay off to the people who advertise. And that's the reason we keep having quite a number of them on our televisions. I didn't agree with him at the time until I heard a story from someone. So a neighbor of mine introduced me to a gentleman whom we all call Oba, because from previous experiences and times with him, he would probably come around, try to help you with your house chores, gardening and all that, pick up something or steal or do something and then vanish for months. And then later he will show up and he will tell you in our local dialect, Chi, that, oh, Wafa, Oba deserve for Masaba. So Oba became his name. At the time I met him, he said he had 3 kids and a wife. I got to meet one of his children, but I never met his wife, neither did I meet the other children. This gentleman is quite an interesting one. He used to come visit my neighbor, help him with his gardening and all that, until my neighbor introduced him to me. So he used to also come around at home, especially over the weekends, and then he would try to help with chores and all that, and then we would, after sort him out. He did this for weeks, almost months. We're hoping to probably give him a more stable job after a while. My neighbor did share his experience with him over the years and said that he wasn't reliable, so we should, watch him for a while. There were days I would smell something that smelled like alcohol, but I would ask him and he'd say, "Oh ma, I don't drink, I've never drunk before, I don't drink." I said, "Oh, are you sure?" He said, "Oh, he's sure, maybe, his house is near a beer bar, and sometimes when he drinks," the stories were ridiculous. I don't want to repeat to you, Diary. But then one day, we had been very good to him. One day he came to work, or he came over the weekend, and then I realized that he was too drunk. He was so drunk, he could barely walk. Came, knocked on my gate and said he wanted to talk to me. I thought it was an emergency. I really wasn't expecting what he told me. Immediately he started his story. I realized that it wasn't one I wanted to listen to alone, so I called on my neighbor to join me. And I believe he was only able to share that story because he was drunk. So Oba tells me that one day he was watching TV with his wife, and then a commercial came up on TV talking about how your money can be doubled, tripled, quadrupled if you would believe and then come and then see some group of people who can change your destiny. This is a young man who has not been stable with any job. Apparently, his wife has not been working much either. They rely basically on people giving them things or money. These 2 people watched television, believed what they were being told, packed up their bags, and then headed to somewhere. He said it was a place after Wenchi. He said when they called the number, they gave them the directions, told them to come at this time. When they get there, they will be met by someone, blah, blah, blah. And then that was it. So they embarked on this journey one Thursday. He says it was quite far. It's way beyond the Wenchi town. So when they got to the designated spot, a gentleman came with a motorcycle, and then the two of them, that is Oba and his wife, joined the rider. He said for a moment he got scared because the rider kept going deeper and deeper into some forest or something. And I said, and you kept going? He said, Ma, we kept going. And his wife was with him. So they got to a place with a hut, just one hut. And then, quite a traditional setup. And then they were told to remove their slippers. They were told to perform an ablution and all that. And they were told to enter the hut backwards, with their backs. So they did. And I said, you are very courageous. He said, All this while, my neighbor was very quiet, still listening to the story. He said when they got in, they were briefed on how the process would go and all that. And then they were told that a piece of his hair would have to be cut. A piece of either of them. One of them will have to share a piece of their hair. He said he didn't understand. Then just when he was confused enough, he was more confused when he was told that one of them will have to sacrifice his life so that the other would be rich. He said he looked at his wife, and his wife looked at him. Who was going to sacrifice? Who was going to die? Then the people told them that they should bring the money they brought. He says they took 1,200 cedis. They took the money and told them that they should go and think about who they would use for the sacrifice. But it has to be one of them. So he sat there, and then he said no, he wasn't interested. And he was told that no, this is a place of no return. You don't have the luxury to change your mind. He said before he could end his statement, a pair of scissors, he just heard a sound, shoo, a piece of his hair had been cut. And then he was told that they should go and come back after 7 days to tell who would be used for the sacrifice. He said they were shown a bag of money, a jute bag full of money. I asked him, did you see the bottom? He said yes. There was so much money, cash. And they were told that they could have it all to themselves if they decided what to do. He said immediately the talk of life came up. He decided that he wasn't interested anymore, and neither was his wife. And so the money had already been collected. They were told to go and come back. Just when they were leaving, he was told again to go out of the hut backwards, or with his back facing outside. And then they did. And then he was given a handkerchief to put under his pillow, and that was going to help him take a decision. So he said he took the handkerchief, but he never used it. I must mention that according to him, I remember when he used to come home, he used to say that his wife was not healthy and that she was always sick, always bedridden. It was on this day he told me that it was after that incident that his wife has never been the same. And she's always complaining about heat in her head or something, I really cannot explain. But according to him, his wife has never been well. So Abba, being the one going back and forth looking for money and all that, comes back from this voyage and decides that, I'm not going to embark on this. And mind you, 1,200 has been spent aside the transportation spent on that day. My neighbor asked him, are you serious? Did you just mention that you had 1,000, you have 12 million to spare and you couldn't use for capital? he pleaded with my neighbor and said to him that, oh, just be patient. I just want to say this and be free. I've never said this to anyone. And like I mentioned earlier, he was only able to share the story because he was drunk. I don't think on a normal day, if he was sober, he would have been able to share. So I thought that was about it, and that's how come he was all around the place. Until he mentioned that when they came back, they were watching TV again, and then they saw a commercial or a program by another person. And this time the person was somewhere around somewhere in Accra. So he had a taxi around the Mampong area. His kid brother was driving, and then they would share the money and all that. An old rickety car. Well, he said he sold the car for 3,000 cedis. So you can tell from the amounts what kind of car it was. He went, sold the car, took the money, packed up his bags, and embarked on a second way to go and look for money. This is somebody who wouldn't work consistently. I wouldn't say he's a lazy person, because for the times that he came to my house, when he came to doing gardening, to all the other chores that he may be assigned to, he did it diligently. So I wondered why he couldn't stay, because I understand also that he was a trained electrician. Why couldn't this guy work? He took the 3,000 Ghana cedis to this place again. And then he says when he got there, there was a woman who was selling oranges. And the woman said, what was he looking for? He said he was looking for the so and so place. And the woman said, you people never stop. People keep coming and then they are beating and then they take their monies and all that. He said the woman said this to him, but he still pursued it. Took the 3,000, was told that he should go. In 14 days, he will see money under his bed. Till today, the 14 days hasn't come. Opa is as poor as anything. No, probably as a church mouse. But that's how bad things are. And I believe that this gentleman was able to share his story because of his state. But there are so many people who are falling victim to these things. So many people who have carried the little they have and the last they have for people to change their destinies. The monies will go somewhere around you. Meanwhile, I'm just saying, I was thinking to myself, couldn't this 3,000 have done anything? Couldn't you have used that capital to even sell anything into some petty trade or something? Now that is gone, plus the first 1,200. His kids are home, they don't go to school. His wife has not been sent to the hospital since that issue of my head is hurting and burning and all that. These people can barely afford 3 square meals. They are there. Now, there's a decision I took after he shared his story. And I also did it under the influence of the conversation I had with my neighbor. He said to me that, Auntie, this is not a good person. This is someone who will not stop at it. He will do it again if he has the opportunity. Any opportunity he gets, he will try to find an easier way to get them. So Oba was not invited to my home again. Every now and then I think about him. I wonder whether I took the right decision or not. Maybe I could have helped him but I think also that I took the decision that best suited my thoughts and my instincts. Maybe you would have taken a different decision. But this is a fully grown man who hadn't just once, but twice. That is, if these were the only stories, these were the ones he shared. How many stories like this do we have out there? How many people have fallen victim like this? How many people have put their, not just monies, but various things, their emotions, their lives into things just because they probably wanted an easier way. They used to say that a school in Ghana had their motto as Obrane Waraubo. And the translation is that life depends on how you live it. When I consider the story of Oba, I realize that many of us are like him. There are so many Obas in our homes, at our workplaces, in our churches, in our communities, and we keep living like this. I was recently told about a term called Sister New London. I hadn't heard it before, but when it was explained to me, it made sense. People will call you and say, this is your sister from London, I have sent some items. You know you don't have a relative in London. You know you don't even have a relative in Togo. So when you play along such a story, is it that you want to scam the person or the person wants to scam? It tells you the kind of people some of us are. Some people would call and say, oh, send me this. If you're able to do this, I'll give you this. I mean, look at some of these lottery stories. Look at some of these game stories. We've all, some way or the other, some people haven't, if you're lucky, haven't fallen victim of it. But when you sit back to think about it, the act of responding to some of these things are acts of greed. How is it that you know that probably a phone that costs like about 10,000 cedis, 15,000 cedis, you get a phone call that the phone is 1,000 Ghana or 500 cedis, and you gladly send money for it, or an item that you know that the price is about 100 times or 50 times what you are being quoted, and you would still send money for it, thinking that you are beating somebody or you are ripping someone off. We need to know when to stop. We need to know how to stop. Life may not be easy for everyone, but then if we are diligent enough and we are focused and consistent, I believe that consistency should be probably a hashtag word, because we do not do one thing long enough to even see the results. We start something, and you hear people doing things like, oh, this person has started, oh, me too, I can do it. We don't even know what we are good at, and then we just jump at things. Oba and his wife would watch television and follow whatever instructions he gets on. But the point is that the person on TV or whoever is telling you to come for money, the person is actually also looking for money. That's why the person has spent money to be on TV or to be on radio to tell you to come. He is working. Are you working? And he will get results once you respond to such a call. This is one of the stories I probably would want everyone to sit back and just think about, because everybody is working. The good are working, the bad are also working. The bad people are working, and the good people are working. And everyone would have results. The results will either be good or bad. They say that we reap what we sow. Don't be someone's fruit of the seed he is sowing or sown, especially when it's a bad one. People are hungry. We are all hungry. Well, I am hungry. Maybe you are not. I'm hungry to also make it. And you can. You will. If you can search well enough, if you can also sit back and say, this is what I want to do. It is not easy. All the stories we have shared on this channel are stories of people who have constantly and consistently kept at working at something, and they have gotten results, and others never got the results. I have to be truthful to you. People are still even working. So what is our excuse? Don't say you are Oba the self and so you have come again. If you are not careful, you may never have a second chance. You may not even have a third. Maybe you've had a first and second chance. Maybe you might not have a third chance. So, family, I know you have enjoyed this session, and so have I enjoyed penning down this part of the story to the diary. Now you can subscribe to our YouTube channel on In and Out the Circle. You can also check us out on all the social media handles, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and all. We'll be glad to read your comments. We'll be glad to respond to you. And don't forget to ring a bell so you do not miss out on any of the new episodes. As usual, I will be back with another story.